when I first started, I was kind of like in denial, I think, and I had like a normal straight size like dress form, and I was like, this is all I need. No.
Hey, plus size nerds, this is Nancy Basile, and I have another fantastic interview with two beautiful cosplayers all ready for you. These ladies both dress as, you can guess, Rey from the Star Wars movies. Ashley and Alex, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to talk all things Rey cosplay today, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask you both just how you got started into cosplay. Did a friend drag you into it, or were you inspired to do it? Let's start with you, Ashley. How did you get into it?
So I actually started cosplaying in 2012. It was an avenue that I didn't think was available for me because of my size. And one of my best friends, Diana, was the one who finally pushed me to, go for it. And I've been hooked ever since. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, is she plus size also?
I would say she's like, curvy.
Yeah, okay. That's great. And that brings up such a great point, because a lot of women do think that if they're not, I want to say movie accurate, that they can't play a character. So I think that is really great that you took that leap.
Yeah, she was super encouraging. And for me, watching anime, and for me specifically Sailor Moon when I was growing up, you look at all these animations and they're super slender, and we're inclusive of all sizes, but when you're looking at that and that's constantly what you're being reinforced, you kind of feel like there isn't a platform for you. So
Yeah.
It was super encouraging when she was like, you know what, just do it, try it, go for it. And I was like, okay, if you think I can do it, then I'll try it.
Oh, that's great. How about you, Alex? How did you get started?
So I've been cosplaying for 12 years now. Yeah, I started actually for my first wedding anniversary. My husband surprised me by taking us to a Harry Potter convention, because we met on a Harry Potter forum when we were 15 years old.
Oh my goodness, that's adorable.
And I really wanted to dress up as the characters that we met RPing, basically. We met RPing James and Lily, so we cosplayed them to the convention. And then ever since then, it was like a downhill spiral, like down into cosplaying, and hasn't stopped since.
Oh, that's fantastic. What a great story. So the two of you met on a Harry Potter forum.
Yeah, talking about like the movies and role playing and such when we were 15 years old, and we got married when we were 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Now, the two of you, do you shop for your items? Do you make your items? Is it a little bit of both? What's your process? We'll start with you, Alex.
I do a little bit of both. It depends on the costume. This particular one I'm wearing, my Jakku Rey, I've made everything but the leather bits on it, because I have zero leather skill whatsoever. But most of my costumes I sew myself. Occasionally there'll be a costume where I'm like, I want to treat myself, and I just buy one. Or there's sometimes too, if the costume you can get it for cheaper than it would be to make myself, I just save the money and time, and I'll be like, okay, this piece is much cheaper to buy than it would be to spend all of the time on materials and everything. Yeah. So I mean, sometimes you see things like, there's some Sailor Moon costumes you could get for like $60 on Chinese websites. Are they accurate? No, probably not. but sometimes it works out. I have a Padme, like the Padme Lake gown. It's not very accurate, but I really like it. It looks very pretty, and I got it for fairly cheap on Amazon, and that would have saved me all of that dyeing of that fabric. Would have been so long. If I wanted to do something like Rebel Legion with it, I would take the time to upgrade it, but since it was just for fun for me, I figured, I'm just going to buy it.
Did you grow up sewing?
Yes. So my grandmother taught me to sew when I was 14. And so I learned the basics, but I didn't really learn like a lot of stuff until I started like doing costumes myself, and then I was looking at YouTube tutorials and stuff, and my grandma has been like, you do so much more than I taught you. And she's
so
sweet.
Supportive. Yeah, that's wonderful. How about you, Ashley? Do you shop? Do you make? What's your story?
I tend to be a little bit of both as well. It really depends on what it's for. So I actually run a group called Menagerie. We're a Sailor Moon cosplay group on the Northeast, and we make all our fukus. So all the accurate ones that Alex
Yep.
was kind of referring to, we are those crazy people who are investing the money making them. But for example, like for this Ray, it's kind of a mix of I made it slash I bought it because again, I also don't do leather work. And the tabards as well, I had to buy.
Yeah, I love your porg.
Thank
Adorable.
you.
Now, how about you? Have you learned as you went, or did you grow up sewing or putting together outfits like this?
So I actually only started sewing in 2018.
Wow.
So I've only been creating for 2 years now. And my dad actually got me a sewing machine for Christmas as a surprise. So I ended up taking it on and making a circle skirt, and then it was a complete downhill spiral after that.
Same as me.
Let me guess. Do both of you have like rooms that are just full of fabric?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sitting in it. I'm like currently renovating this office to be a sewing room actually because the toddler took over my other area.
Ah, yes. Everyone I know who sews has a room somewhere that's just full of fabric that someday they're going to use or they might use. I admire it because I have zero skills in that area. And hats off to you guys because I think it is a definite there's a special challenge when it comes to sewing for yourself and trying to take a pattern and make it fit to your own curves and things like that. Have you struggled with that, or did it come easy to you, Ashley?
For me, it has 100% been a learning curve trying to size things for my figure, especially when you're dealing with certain fabrics. Like with Sailor Moon, we use a dull tricot, which is very stretchy. And it is body hugging, so making sure that you have an accurate fit is so important. But I will say, even since starting to sew in 2018, I have noticed a lot of pattern companies starting to be more inclusive of plus sizes, which has been really refreshing and makes things a little easier.
That's fantastic. How about you, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with what she's saying. That patterns have gotten a lot better and a lot more inclusive since I started this whole process. And the other thing too is like when I first started, I was kind of like in denial, I think, and I had like a normal straight size like dress form, and I was like, this is all I need. No, and like my fit got so much better once I actually invested in like one that was my size. And I was like, she looks like me. It actually looks like it's gonna look now. Because every time I'd like put it on the dress form and have to like pin it in the weirdest ways to even make it fit. And like since getting that, it's been so helpful. And it's kind of hilarious to put my husband's Kylo on it and realize that the hips are too big to get like anything around it.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh. So what drew you to cosplay as Rey?
Oh God.
Alex?
I had the same reaction, Alex. I was like, ooh, emotional.
It's an emotional journey. Oh gosh. I'm gonna make this as brief of a story because it's a long story, but like I'll like
you can tell the long story.
condense it. In 2005, well, Star Wars has been like in my life since I was 2. My dad like sat me down and was like, "This is Star Wars," and like I've loved it since then. But in 2015, when Force Awakens came out, I was extremely ill. I have Crohn's disease, and I had a complication, and had to go into surgery and almost did not make it. I ended up in the ICU for 10 days. I had an ostomy bag. I couldn't walk. It was legitimate hell at that time. And like the only thing that kind of kept me out of depression was The Force Awakens. And just clinging on to like a character that even in the darkest times where she's been left on this planet for 15 years with like no hope, had hope regardless and was able to overcome it. And I just sort of clung really hard onto her character, and you know, it's at least for me, I had like a happy ending here where like my Crohn's is in remission. I have a daughter now, and you know, we made through all of that bad time, which is really good.
Yeah.
And
Oh
I
my
just sort of dove headlong into cosplaying her and made every single costume she's ever worn, which is ridiculous. Yeah.
That's fantastic, though. That is great. And I hope that there is a TikTok either already made or going to be made of you in every single one.
Yeah, there is.
Yay! And
I
everyone
just did
who's
it.
everyone
like,
who's watching this, I just want you to know there's going to be links in the description, so you'll definitely get to see that TikTok. That's great. What a story. My heart breaks for that, you back then. That's an incredible story, but I'm so happy for you now.
Thank you.
Do you find going through something traumatic like that gives you confidence to do something like this, because nothing is ever going to be as hard as that?
Yes. I was used to be extremely hard on my body in costuming and such. Actually, right before all of that happened, I finally started wearing like cat suits for a character called Crystal in Marvel, who I really, really love. I started putting on like spandex suits and stuff, but I was still like extremely tough on myself. And after that experience and like having an ostomy and everything, I was like, what's the point? What am I waiting for? Why am I wasting my time being like, I need to lose weight to cosplay X character because I don't know if I'm going to have it tomorrow because that just happened to me, basically. So it just put everything in perspective and was like, I'm just going to do whatever character I want. I'll modify it if I feel comfortable if I have to, but like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And it just pushed me forward to do it. Yeah.
I love that you said that. What am I waiting for? Oh my
Yeah.
God. There are so many times I have said that to friends and acquaintances. What are you waiting for? Oh my gosh. Well, Ashley, I'm sorry you have to follow that up. Tell me what has drawn you to Rey.
For me, I also grew up watching Star Wars, thankfully to my mom. And I remember watching the films and being like, I don't know that I really connect with this because I didn't feel like there was a character for me to connect to. Sorry to all the Padme people out there, but she ain't it for me. So then Force Awakens came out, and I remember sitting in the theater like, oh my God, like here's a strong character who's been kind of ostracized, pushed out by everybody. And I've been bullied for a lot of my life, and I felt like I could really relate to her strength in those situations. And actually, when I did start to cosplay Rey, I didn't even think that I would fit into the picture. And I ended up joining a Rey cosplay group for costuming, and that's how I met Alex. And when I saw her pictures, I was like, oh my God, like if she can do it, then I can do it. And then she ended up being my mentor through the process of making this costume.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great story. Wow. I am so right there with you, because I remember going to see The Force Awakens with our whole family. Every Christmas, my husband's family and some of my family, we would try to meet somewhere where we could all, congregate and go see it together. We even took our kids out of school to go see it. But my daughter at the time, so Force Awakens came out in, was it 2012?
2015.
15, okay.
Yep.
So she was about 7, 8 years old, perfect age. And I got so emotional because I was like, she's getting the character that I didn't get. You know what I mean? Like, this is so fantastic that she gets to grow up with this, as the woman on the screen. I mean, it's just phenomenal, just phenomenal. No makeover scenes, no kissy face, no floating around and having babies or whatever the heck. She's just like there to fight and save the world. It was fantastic. So I feel both of you. Now, through your cosplaying, you both have talked about your own stories. Have you found that other people connect with you because of that, Ashley?
I would say definitely. My whole platform, ever since I started getting more seriously into cosplay, is body positivity and body inclusivity. I believe this is a hobby where everybody has a space and they shouldn't be made to feel excluded because of their size or how they look or their race or their creed or whatever. And it's been interesting for me because I remember starting similar to Alex, being so critical of my figure. And then as I started posting more content on social media, all of a sudden people would message me and be like, you're such an inspiration. You inspired me to try this character. And you kind of take that when you're hard on yourself and you're like, really? But then you really start to listen to that feedback and you're like, well, if what I'm doing is helping someone else, then it's worth it on top of my own enjoyment of being in the hobby itself.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. How about you, Alex? Well, we know that you inspired at least one person.
Yeah. Yeah. I've also gotten those sort of messages, and that it touches my heart anytime I do. And it's also so important to me to be body positive, that like anybody can be any character. That's the whole point of cosplay. If you want to talk about accuracy when it comes to like sewing or such, that's a different conversation. But like, I don't think you need to look like a character to be accurate, because it's about costuming and having fun. It's not about an acting job, basically. So a lot of people take it as like, oh, well, you can't be Rey because you don't look like Daisy Ridley. Well, Disney's not hiring me. I'm going to a convention and having a good time. Like, I'll do what I want. But yeah, like cosplay for me has been like a creative outlet for me and my husband that we both share together. And like, my husband, I don't know if I would call him a plus size guy, but he's a larger guy. So I mean, like, also we both are very like body positive and that sort of thing. That's the message we also want to put out. And also that like this is something you can do as a family and like have fun. And like my kid doesn't technically cosplay yet because she's like a toddler, but I put her in some stuff. And we're actually doing a mommy and me Rey shoot coming up soon, and I'm super excited about it. I have a little Rey dress for her.
So cute. Oh my God.
Please tell me that you're going to dress her as the asset at some point.
Oh yes, yeah. We plan to do the child when we finally get to the 2. She has like a onesie, but she grew out of it that had like the little Yoda ears and everything. It was so cute.
Oh, that's adorable. What advice would you give to someone then who wants to get started? They're nervous about putting themselves out there. You know, how do you handle negative comments? Because anyone who puts themselves out there, me included, at some point is going to get some comment from some Yahoo. So what is your advice for that?
I guess my advice for that is to just, as you said, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what size you are, what you look like, anything. Someone's going to say something. Someone's going to have an opinion eventually. It might not be all the time. It depends on the platform too. TikTok is worse than Instagram and Facebook for sure, because it's all 12-year-olds and they all have an opinion. And but it depends on how much you put like what platforms you're putting out on and stuff, but it's going to happen. And I think the best thing to do is to remember that this person who's saying this is obviously not in a good place, because you cannot be in a good place to be doing. And yeah, and also you could be like, hey, you're an a-hole, and like and brush them off that way. But like for me, it was kind of realizing that like these people can't be having a good day, like to do this. Because I had something happen. Oh God, it was right after The Last Jedi. Someone took one of my pictures and put it in like a Sith posting group, and somebody like sent it back to me, so I found it, and it was like 1,000 comments. It just kept going, and like
horrible comments.
Yeah, no, like rates and McDonald's and that sort of stuff, just going. And you know, like for a day I was really, really, really upset about it and reading the comments, and I was like, what? Finally I was like, I shouldn't be reading this. First of all, I should just like step away from it and not look at it ever again. It was deleted, and you know, after that happened, I was sort of like, well, the worst that could happen happened. So I survived it. So here we go.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I cannot believe that. I mean, I know in my that stuff happens, but holy cow.
There is a twist to the story though, because like 6 months ago, I got a random Facebook message from this guy that said, "Hi, I was the person who did it, and I wanted to apologize to you." I
Oh,
couldn't
wow.
believe it was years later, and he was just like, "I was not in a good place in my life. I did bad things, and I wanted to apologize to you." And like, I accepted it. I was like, "Yeah, like, thank you." Like, I never expected that in a million years. But
No.
no, it's like it puts it in perspective too that like these people are you can't be like okay if you're doing this to people. That's not it's
No.
not normal basically.
Wow, good for him that he did that. That is
Yeah.
amazing. Oh, that's amazing. Wow. How about you, Ashley? What would be your advice to someone who, they want to start doing something like this, but they're afraid to, and they're not sure how to, handle that negative feedback they might get?
I kind of agree with Alex. It's something that I've learned through just growing up. When you're in it and you're young, you take it so personal. And even when I first started cosplaying, I would take it so personal. And now that I'm 32, I look at it as similar to her, where it's like you must be going through something or you must be hurting, so you need to project this energy onto me. And while that's unfortunate, I'm going to choose not to take it. And similar to what Alex said too, like if you're going to talk about sewing, then of course I'll take constructive feedback. But if it's about my appearance or my size or what I look like in a costume, it's just not for me. And I've had instances where I've gone back to people who have sent these messages and been like, hey, like, I hope you know what you said doesn't impact me, but you could send this to someone who might be on the verge of something unfortunate, and that could impact a choice that's long term. So you might want to think about what you're doing. And I have had people be like, oh, I didn't think about it like that, which it's like, why wouldn't you? But
Oh, good for you to point that out to them and kind of open their eyes. I love that you said, I'm going to choose not to take it. I love that you have like taken back that power of choosing not to let something upset you. You talked about being bullied. How did you work through that growing up?
it was certainly a process, and many years were not fabulous. But again, knowledge comes through experience, whether that's positive or negative. And I remember by the time I reached my senior year in high school, I was like, A, I'm never going to see you people again, hopefully. And and B, same principle. I was just kind of like, what's going on in your life where you feel like that's okay to say to another human being? And nobody's perfect. We all have bad days, and I really try and keep that in mind as well. Like, you get frustrated with people, it is what it is, but to come for somebody's appearance or size or something they can't change, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So powerful. Ladies, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this and for dressing up, because you both look fantastic and I absolutely love it. And like I said, guys, there are links to everything in the descriptions, so you can follow these ladies on Instagram and check out their other looks. Alex, Ashley, thank you so much for joining me.